Hello, and welcome to our Debate 101 part of our coach workshops. These coach workshops are here to help our new coaches and experienced coaches really workshop and learn more about coaching debate and learn about debate. And these Debate 101 lectures will be talking about the fundamental debate knowledge and background that our coaches, especially if they're not former debaters, may not have. So this is to really introduce in the very basic topics of debate. So this first lecture, we'll be talking about Chicago debates, who we are as an organization, our why, and the tournaments that we run. What do you expect? What do we even mean by debate tournament? And what that kind of looks like. So thank you for joining us on this debate journey. We really believe that debate is a journey and that none of us are experts, but some of us are further along in this debate journey. And for me, debate is one of the best and most impactful things I've done my entire life. And so I'm so thankful for all of those coaches who helped me along the way. And I'm really excited for the students that you'll be able to impact because you've joined on this debate journey with them. Now, the overview and the goals of this workshop are to talk about Chicago debates, so who we are as an organization, why we do what we do, and what exactly do we do. And secondly, we'll be talking about debate tournaments. So what is a debate tournament? What is a debate round? And what can you expect as a coach? And how can you best prepare your students to enter into what I think are some of the most joyful Saturdays of my whole life, and how we can bring that to your students. So first is our mission, our impact, and our partnership with CPS. When I post these slides, you'll be able to watch the Chicago Debates video about our impact. And our YouTube page will have more of those really cool videos about our students and highlighting some of their great stories. Now, we also partner with CPS as the sole provider of debate programming for Chicago Public Schools. We are not directly a part of CPS, but we are a partner within their academic competitions office. So we work with CPS schools and CPS teachers, but we are not directly employed by CPS. So that distinction is very important, as well as highlighting just how important and critical that strong partnership is with CPS that we are so lucky to have and really enjoy, because it allows us to really do the things we care about in one of the most diverse and largest school districts in the country. And for us, that partnership is critical to literally everything we do. So it's important for us to mention that and to really talk about the importance. Next is why we exist. As we all know, that there is a learning gap, an opportunity gap that exists in urban school districts, specifically in Chicago public schools. And so we exist to help the career potential, the academic potential, and just really help close that opportunity gap, as well as give students the access to what really being part of the policy debate community means. Just something that has greatly impacted every day of my life and continue to impact me as I've entered into adulthood. Everything from adult roommates to my free weekends to networks I have and friendships I've been able to gain as an adult have been because of my involvement in policy debate that started when I was 14 years old. And those benefits have continued to just mount upon themselves. Only 19% of CPS freshmen graduate by age 25. We see that the average ACT for Chicago Public Schools is well below the college readiness benchmark. It's a lack of literacy developing programs that cause this dropout. So we see that this opportunity gap within CPS schools is something that needs to be addressed. And we think that debate, specifically policy debate, is such an amazing opportunity in and of itself, but also studies have shown that this improves this opportunity gap that exists. So not only is it a cool tool within itself, it's an incredibly effective tool to solve for some of these problems in a very fun and unique way. So that's why our debate programs are part of the larger solution for this. It's not necessarily the only solution or the solution that can fix everything, but we think it's an incredibly powerful solution. I can personally tell you that being able to participate in a debate program in my high school forever changed my life. It helped me achieve more than I ever thought was possible. And for so many of our students, they have such similar stories to my own. And that's why we do it, is that debate has been shown to increase the likelihood to graduate, increase the likelihood of graduating college, improve those skills that help with reading and test scores and just showing up to school. It also increases our civic engagement. And so research finds specifically on our impact, study of our programming, that that we have these great outcomes of our students, and that we impact 78% of our students attend a Title I school, 85% of our students, so students of color, and that they're 2 times more likely to be college ready. So then us, our focus and our mission. So our vision is that of empowerment, academic and career success, community impact via leadership. And our mission is educational attainment, community impact, life success, and transformation through debate. I've already talked a lot about the transformative power that it's had in my own life. And so that's the reason that we do what we do. Our program officers are former debaters. A lot of them are alumni of the program or have similar stories to how debate has really transformed their lives. So we do this activity, and we want to encourage this activity and really proliferate it to more schools and more students, because we know the impact that has touched all of our lives in such incredibly meaningful ways. And so our impact is that we're in nearly 100 CPS middle and high schools. We support communities, both in our judges and our students and our coaches. And our goal is to have more than 1,700 students. And we are the largest policy debate league out of 22 urban debate leagues in the country. We're also one of the oldest, which makes us very proud of our longstanding traditions and the really incredible success of so many of our alumni. So what do we do at Chicago Debates? So as mentioned, we are a partnership with CPS, and being a separate nonprofit partner has allowed us to really both work with CPS, but as well as have our own distinct programming. So we do program building, starting new programs, likely like the one that you're about to work with or have already started working with. Second is professional development and training, much like this video. The third is research and resources, which you'll see later on in this video, things such as our core files and our different resources we have on our website. Fourth is tournaments. As again, part of this will include what a tournament is, but we run the tournaments for the Chicago Debate League and the Middle School Debate League. And the fifth thing we do is our summer debate camp called Chicago Debate Summer Institute, CDSI, where we have a 2-week-long debate camp during the school days in the summer, so our students can be better prepared for the school year of debate and really get involved and dive deeper into a lot of those debate concepts, because debate is a game and it's like a sport, and it's somewhat like football, that you need that extra training to really get to the next level and to really get deeply involved in it. And that's where a lot of the fun happens. At least it did for me. And so our league structure. So we have 2 separate leagues, basically because of funding reasons. So we have the Middle School Debate League, and this is where all of our middle schools compete. And so we have 4 different conferences. So we have Grant Park, Chicago River, Lake Michigan, and Navy Pier. These are broken up by some of the different types of school, the geography. They have different argument limits and different structures. The tournaments look fairly similar. But we will work with any new program to figure out where their best place would be, both based on geography, based on the type of school, based on student populations. And once we have our existing schools, we're very malleable on what conference works best for you and your students. But breaking up these different levels mean that our new schools, which are largely concentrated in our Lake Michigan and Navy Pier conferences, get to compete against schools similar to them. They don't have to compete against coaches who have been doing this for 10 years and produce some of the best debaters in the city. It's a great way to be able to protect new debaters and programs while also bringing together different and diverse groups of students. And then our Chicago Debate League, or the high school league, we have 3 different types of conferences depending on basically how long you want your tournament to be and the sort of argument structures you want within that tournament. Again, we work with new programs and we work with existing programs to figure out what the best fit is. We understand that the RCC, more national circuit type of tournament, isn't right for everyone. It's not right for every coach. It's not right for every student. So we have this diversity of different types of tournaments that really help our program best serve our students and coaches. And the first one is the 3-day conference. This is our most competitive conference, runs similar to a national circuit tournament. That's called the RCC, or Regional Circuit Conference. Then we have 2-day conferences that are a little bit more advanced, but not quite as national circuit heavy. These are blue and silver conferences. And then we have 1-day only tournaments. Some of our newer schools start here. We have some more experienced schools as well that are really leaders in these conferences, but find that the 1-day tournament structure still best serves their students. This would be the red and maroon conferences. And so now our resource websites. Where can you find all this information? How can you figure out what's going on at any given point? So we have resources.chicagodebates.org. If you go to chicagodebates.org, be sure to click on the resources button. It'll bring you the curriculum, everything you need to both learn about debate and teach debate. We have our core files, which we'll get to later on, but those core files are the files or research and the arguments we have for the year-long topic. And then the third is, of course, workshops like this. Fourth is coach and student resources. If you want to dive in deeper, or students want to learn more about something, or wonder just where to go, that this is going to be that page to do that. And then the fifth is anything tournament related. So the calendar. When is my next tournament? What is the schedule? Tournament-specific information and documents. So check-in sheet, helpline information, any of that will exist on the resources website. So it's kind of your one-stop shop for anything related to Chicago debates and our programming that you need quick access to. Hopefully, we've at least remembered to include it. If not, send me an email. I can fix it. Or talk to your program officer. But hopefully, everything you need is there. Kind of help you grasp what it is that we do. Because if you've never participated in this activity, you might not even know the questions to ask. But the resource website is really just that, the resources for you as a coach and for your students. Now, for the introduction to debate tournaments. Again, some of the most fun Saturdays and weekends of my whole life have been spent at debate tournaments. People might wonder why all of these students want to get up early on a Saturday, go load on a bus to go to some high school or middle school in the city. And the reason is because debate tournaments are secretly some of the most adrenaline-featured activities you'll ever be a part of. I've joked that it's not that necessarily I love running debate tournaments, but I'm secretly an adrenaline junkie, and debate tournaments are such a great source of that. I do love debate tournaments. That's a joke. But a sample calendar. So how many tournaments are there? Is there one big culminating tournament? Like, how does this function? So tournaments are about once a month in a middle school for high school, and for middle school about every month and a half. So in high school, you can kind of see what the calendar looks like. We have one in October, November, December, January, February, and then a March, April culminating city championship. So the last tournament with your conference, these will be split up by conferences. Sometimes we'll have joint conference tournaments, but normally those conferences will be similar to your own. And so you have 4 kind of regular tournaments in high school, and your 5th conference championship. And then the 6th tournament of the year is the city championship. In the virtual world, we won't have qualification, but back when we're in person, we'll have qualification for the city championship. So it's a very exciting tournament. It's every high school debater in the whole city is at this tournament, and they're all competing to be the city champion. And it's a huge deal. It's a really exciting, massive tournament. The energy is just incredible. I think the energy at any debate tournament is amazing and just incredible, but especially the city championship is just a whole different animal. And then the middle school, we have kind of 3 normal tournaments. So at late October, early December, mid-January, and mid-February. And then the fifth tournament is the city championship. This has no qualification. We have as many debaters on the middle school level who want to go to this debate tournament are welcome and invited to this. And it is a massive tournament full of middle schoolers across the city, all the way from the furthest north to the furthest south and west and everywhere in between. It's just an incredible tournament. It's so much fun. And at the end, we, of course, get to crown our city championship for middle school. And it's a really just phenomenal experience. One of our favorite tournaments all year long. And so most of the tournaments, again, are held within conferences or with other conferences that are very similar to your own. And then except for that city championship, which is just everyone, and it's only slightly chaotic, but whenever you get 300 middle schoolers together debating, you can expect nothing less. So that's kind of what the tournaments look like. Yes, the debate season is long. That's both good and bad. It's why it takes over your life, but it's why it's also so impactful, is that within doing something 5 or 6 times, and you'll see that at a tournament, you don't just debate once, you debate multiple times. And so by the time you've had all of these debates, that you really are experts on the topics and you're experts on your case and debate, and it really helps you learn so much. Studies have shown that once you hit that 3 tournament mark, you gain so many additional benefits of debate. Because again, it's like football, that whenever you're starting out, you're not really playing full football. You're doing something similar. You're following some of the same rules, but the higher and higher you get, the better it is, and the more you learn, and the more strategy you get. And it's an incredible strategic process of these tournaments. And so having all of these different tournaments would allow students to be able to participate, even if they can't go to every one of them. They might be able to go to 1 or 2 or 3 and be able to really gain those benefits. But for the students who want to go to all of them, it allows them to continue to play this game and really get better at it. But along with that, learn so much. It's a research-based and argument-driven activity. The better you get at debate, the more you learn. The more you learn about policies, the more you learn about evidence and argumentation and all of those great things and all of those great civic skills that many even adults in our society are missing. But our students have the opportunity to continue to do this. So a middle schooler who debates at all 5 tournaments will have debated 20 different debate rounds, 20 different back and forth, given 40 different speeches, anticipated in 40 different cross-examinations about a policy topic. That middle schooler is so much more ready to face the world and face anything that comes at them. So I've talked a lot about what a debate tournament looks like, right? Without telling you what it is. So here it is. Here's the introduction to what a debate tournament actually looks like. So you'll see with the sample schedule from one of our one-day tournaments that we have 4 different rounds or debates. Within a round, there will be a bunch of debates happening across the entire school in different rooms. So every student debates and every volunteer is judging. And so if you're judging 4 times. If you're debating 4 different times. And so each high school debate lasts about 90 minutes, and each middle school debate lasts about an hour. We have some buffer time built into the schedule, as you'll see. But first, we have registration. We need to know who all is there in order to do correct matchups. It's very important that we get timely registration. Otherwise, if we don't know someone's not going to be there, we'll give them an opponent. And then if they're not there and we don't know, that opponent never gets to debate that first round. It causes a lot of chaos. So we have to know everyone that is there, everyone that is willing to debate, everyone's right division, and all of those things before we can even start to do the matchups for round 1. And the matchups take a moment to do because you'll see that it's really complicated. So if you're wondering, why is the tournament running late? The answer is almost always because we were waiting on someone else to give us information, whether it's about the teams, about the judges, about judges picking the winner so we can do the matchups. One of the great things about debate tournaments is that your matchups get more fit for that tournament. So it's called power matching. Let me explain how this works. So rounds 1 and 2 are random within your division. So newer debaters will be debating newer people, and more varsity debaters, and more experienced debaters. But after those 2 rounds, we match up people with similar records. So teams that are 2-0 or have won both debates and not lost any will be debating other teams who are also 2-0, who also are undefeated and have not lost any. Similarly, teams that have not had the opportunity to win any debate rounds yet will be debating other teams who have not won any debate rounds yet, which means that we both need all of the ballots and all of the judges' decisions, which sometimes delay the tournament, but it also means that everyone is getting those right debates for them. Hopefully no one is just destroying all of the opponents the whole tournament, and hopefully no one is getting destroyed in debates the whole tournament. We try to really be able to make the tournaments as fair and equitable as possible. And so behind the scenes, we're doing so much work like that and matching up the right judges and doing all of these things to try to make the tournament as wonderful of an experience as possible. But what this means is that sometimes there are various delays because we're waiting on all sorts of information. But that information is so important to making sure this tournament is the best possible experience for you, your students, and our judges. And so you'll see that we have, so every tournament concludes with an award ceremony where your students will get awards both as teams and as individuals. When a judge is voting, they also give points to each of the debaters called speaker points. And those points are used to determine the best debaters in each division. So not only are you competing for wins and losses as a team, you're also individually up for awards as well. And so you've heard me mention about divisions. And so divisions are different, well, divisions, much like a basketball team in middle school or high school, has different ways of competing. So in basketball, there's often like a freshman team, a JV team, a varsity team. So you don't want that very best senior having to play against the very new, very young freshman. Debate is the same way. So we have in order of experience, our rookie debaters are brand new debaters, hopefully with less than 2 tournaments of experience. They read more simplified cases. They really don't know a lot about debate at this point. And this is really to get those debaters involved without them having to compete against some more experienced debaters. Everyone is in the same boat. Everyone is equally confused and has no idea what's happening. And so that helps our debaters really have fair and equitable rounds. And our second division is novices. So this is a debater in their first full year of debate. So they're still getting used to debate. They understand simple things like speech order and what it means to be affirmative and what it means to be negative. We'll get into it in a second. And they understand the kind of basic functionalities of debate, but they're still in their first year. They still have a lot to learn. We like to protect these divisions. We make sure they have easier to understand argument limits and that it's not a free-for-all yet. And these are where the newer judges will be, the newer debaters. And then we have junior varsity, which will be generally debaters in their second year or sometimes third year that are not quite ready to be at the highest level of competition, but they have debate experience, they know what's happening, they often are starting to construct their own cases, they're doing a lot of research. And then we have our varsity debaters, which are best debaters in any given tournament will be in the varsity division. This is also where we'll place most of our more experienced judges, those with debate experience, those that are former coaches, those that are alumni of the program, because they're able to really give more in-depth discussions and more in-depth feedback on those arguments that they read, because they once were debaters or maybe the coaches and they've coached these arguments and researched them. So they're able to give very specific feedback about kind of the intricacies of policy debate. And so typically newer judges will judge in rookie or novice, assuming we have enough experienced judges. Hopefully we do. And we also have things called argument limits. So each of the divisions, as I've kind of talked about, have different argument limits or limits on the arguments that can be made. That way everyone is ready and prepared for the arguments they have to debate against. We don't want anyone to win because the other team has no idea what they're talking about and have never thought about this before, and they're just blindsided, and that's why they win. No, we want fair debates that everyone has an equal chance of winning and everyone has some background knowledge on and evidence and research prepared. That way, everyone really learns, and they have that ability to engage in that dialogue and that back and forth with evidence and research and arguments, because we think that is the best way to learn, and those create the best debate. Our goal at Chicago Debates is not just to produce wins and losses. That's not what we care about. We care about the education of our students and producing good and equal debates. So you've heard me talk about the matchups. So we call those pairings. And this is an example actually from a virtual tournament. But it's also going to be printed out like this for in-person tournaments, as well as on tabroom.com. And we might have Google Sheets like this, to be determined. But you'll have the room, which right now is a link, but in person it'll be a room number, a basic classroom. And then the team that is affirmative, the team that is negative, and the judge. So there'll be 2 teams of 2 people each. Sometimes the debater is by themselves, so it's 3 people. And then a judge will be adjudicating the debate. And so room, the affirmative team, the negative team, and judges. That's what the pairings will tell you. The pairings at the top will also have the start time, the time that the 1AC should start, or the first affirmative constructive, which again, we'll get to in a second, but just know that's the first speech. It'll be broken up by division, generally with the kind of lowest division or newest division first. So in this tournament, there's novice, JV, and varsity. So we have it broken up by those divisions. So everyone should know what division they are, so they can start looking for their name. So each of the teams will be the school name and then the name of the 2 debaters. So you're able to find yourself. You ask yourself, am I affirmative? Am I negative? And which room should I be heading to? Basically, when pairings come out, there's often not a lot of time between pairings coming out and the round starting. So once you see your name and see your room number, and remember if you're affirmative or negative, you should go directly, head to that room. And if you're a coach, look to see if you're judging. Hopefully we won't have to use as many coaches to judge, but if we do, it's really important that you show up to that room, so that way that those students get to debate, that you're judging, and that way the round can start on time. We won't have you judging your own students, but if you're judging, you'll be judging students from 2 other schools. And normally you won't debate your own school, you'll be debating another school, unless there's a weird situation where you're most of a division. But likely that won't be the case. It only happens a few times, and most often in middle school. And so yeah, once you look at the pairing, find your name, go to that room, and get started as soon as that start time you possibly can. That's really important to making sure the tournament runs on time. The start time does not mean the time you get into the room. Start time is the time that the first speech is starting. Everyone's on the same page, everyone is ready, everyone is sitting there ready with their notes out. That is what start time means. Please start on that time. Otherwise, the whole tournament gets delayed. If it gets delayed even 15 minutes for every round, all of a sudden you're a whole hour late, and the bus drivers are angry, the parents are angry, judges are angry. So don't do that to us. Just get to your room. When pairings come out, get to your room. Just do that. And if you're a coach and you're not judging, you're welcome to go watch other debate rounds, watch your students if they're okay with that, and really give them additional feedback. And because you know your students best, you'll be able to be like, okay, you did this so well in practice. What happened? Why did you forget about what we talked about? So it's really helpful if you want to go watch your students, and then you also just learn more about debate. Judges. I've mentioned them a lot. Who are they? Where do we get them? Where did they come from? So our judges are often alumni of the program or other former debaters who live in Chicago. Coaches. We try not to use our coaches always, but sometimes we have to. Lawyers, other trained volunteers and community members, often college students. And then in middle school only, we'll have high school debaters judging, or other rookie divisions. Sometimes we have high school debaters judging on middle school. Our high school debaters, we always vet them and make sure by talking to the coaches that they are ready for the responsibility. But we found that the middle school debaters really love the interaction with our high school students. And our high school students, because they have the same topic, excellent judges. They have so much background information, they know so much about debate, and they are also in the shoes of learning about debate. So they're really excellent judges and really excellent mentors. So we love those mentorship connections. So what is the role of a judge? So a judge is to make a decision in the debate. So who won, who lost, And to be fair and impartial, they only are supposed to judge the arguments that are presented, start with a blank slate, and the decision, if you're judging, is always the correct one. The role of the students is to persuade you. They do not persuade the judge, or if your students lost because they did not persuade the judge, they lost the debate. There's no, oh, the judge was wrong. You didn't persuade them. That was your job. That's all you had to do. And the judges are trained to not disclose the winner. Sometimes they do. They shouldn't, but happens. But if your student's like, oh, do you know if we won or lost? You don't know. They'll find out at awards, and after the tournament, we'll release the ballots or comments from the judges, as well as the wins, the losses, and the speaker points. So what can you expect in a debate round? Talked a lot about debate rounds. So what are they? They happen in a normal classroom. The panel will say something like room 137, and that's where it will happen. The players, those involved, so we started with the affirmative team, 2 partners, same school. They were presenting a solution. The negative team, again, 2 partners, both in the same school, but different school than the affirmative, negating that solution or saying why we shouldn't do that policy. And the judge, who's a neutral adult related to none of the schools, deciding the winner and giving feedback. They decide the winner just on the paper, give that to the tab room, who then decides the next matchup, as we talked about, and decides the winners of the tournament and the rankings of the team. And they also give oral feedback, and they help give those suggestions to use in the next round and to use further on. So that way your students can take notes during this feedback. They absolutely should be taking notes of everything the judge says. And that way, the next practice, they can come back and talk about all the great feedback, things they did well. Judges' comments on what they can improve, maybe new arguments they can try, different ways of framing. That'd be great to share, not just with a coach, but to share with the teammates. Maybe there's a great new spin on the case that if they explained it this way, it would make so much more sense, right? Judges are just full of all of this great help and these great ideas. And so you learn so much just by debating at a tournament and listening to your judges and listening to your opponents. And the further along you get in the debate, the back and forth, you just understand things better. It's really great. And so the students will be reading evidence. They will be taking notes. We call this flowing, which we'll get to in the next lecture. But very important that they're taking notes both of what their partner is saying, what they're saying, and what the other team is saying. It's important to be able to do the listening skills. In a debate round, you are listening for 75% of the time and only talking for 25. This means that more than debate is a speaking activity, it's a listening activity. And it's hard for anyone, much less a student, to remember everything that is said in the context of an intense discussion of policy over 60 minutes or 90 minutes. This is why we need to be taking careful notes of what is said. And so that's why debate is such a powerful listening activity. And they will also construct their own arguments, using their own ideas, being their own orators and their own little, mini lawyers, and debating for and against the policy, depending on which side they are. More of this in the specific evidence. What do I mean by evidence? What do I mean by flowing? What do I mean by constructing their own arguments? All of that will be covered in the next Debate 101. So who are some of the key people that run a debate tournament? What does it mean to run a debate tournament? So you have the school host. So that is the coach at the school that we are hosting at, right? So we'll be in a physical school building. Once we can go back to physical school buildings, they will be at the school. And so this person is who you contact if a room is locked, if you can't find the bathroom, if you get locked out of something, if you're trying to find room 137, this is who you ask. Don't ask the tournament director. We don't know. We have no idea. But this is the person that will help with maps and help just make sure everything runs on time. They are the expert of the physical school building. So anything related to the physical school building, this is your go-to. This person is very busy and very stressed during the tournament, so be careful. But so the next person is a tournament director. This will be someone who works for Chicago Debates and is an expert on debate tournaments. This will often be the program support officer that you're used to talking to. This might be someone else contracted. It kind of depends. But this person, any tournament questions, they go to this person. Any disagreements that happen, any big situations, any thing that you need to go, find the person in charge. This is the person in charge. this tournament director should have at least a lot of your answers or know where to go to. They are the person that is most visible at a tournament. They'll be running awards. They will be making sure things run on time or as close to on time as we can. They are the person that is the point person. Again, they will be slightly stressed, running around the whole tournament, but they're not the school host. If you're trying to find some specific room, they may or may not be able to help you. They are well concerned about whether or not you are getting your butt to the room you're supposed to get your round started. They are very concerned about running on time, having enough judges, making sure everyone's checked in. They are the person that will be nagging anyone that needs to be nagged the whole tournament. That is your job. And next is the tab director. Tab director is kind of a mystical being behind the curtain. You likely will not see them. They'll be in a room with a computer and notes just all over the place. They figure out the matchups. Now, a lot of people don't understand just how important these matchups are. These matchups are not only mathematically determined with what we call the power matching, such that everyone gets the most fair and best rounds for them. They also are matching the judges. They're making sure everyone's checked in. They're making sure that there's enough numbers of everything and figuring out which classroom you're debating in and doing all the computer stuff behind the scenes and figuring out the ballots and who won and who lost and ranking all the individual debaters and all of those things at the award ceremony that the kids are so excited about. That is the job of the tab director. And the tab director is really often in a teacher lounge or some workroom in the school. You probably won't ever see them, but they are so crucial to how the tournament functions, and they are a really important person to know that they exist. Often when you're waiting on pairings or something, the tournament director, and you ask them, be like, I don't know, that's up to the tab director, or the tab director is figuring out some hiccup, and that's who that person is. But as someone who has tabbed a lot of tournaments, you're really a mystical being behind the curtain. And the next is the table operator. The table operator is kind of the tournament director's assistant. They help with anything at the tournament that needs help. They handle forms and making sure pairings are out. They make sure that, help with the school registration and make sure that the lunch is set up and basically anything that needs to be done, whether it's making sure rounds are started and chasing down, where did that affirmative team that's supposed to debate in 125, where are they? Let's go find where that Lindblom team went. That's the job of the table operator. They are running around. They are also operating the table with all the papers and the handouts and all the forms and all of that. They are a very important role. They're a very important role. They're kind of the right-hand man or woman of the tournament director. And the next is the judge captain. The judge captain is also very important. Sometimes they're also a table operator, but their role is to take care of the judges, to ask questions, make sure the judges all know what's going on, to help check in judges. Anyone who's a new judge is going to have so many questions. So anyone who has judged just a few times, again, you keep learning each and every time. The more I judge, even though I've judged a few hundred debate rounds, I still learn more and more each time I judge. And I think that over the years, I've become a better judge, even though I've done it for many years. I still have a lot to learn, as we all do. So the role of the judge captain is to really facilitate that learning and the process of the judges. So they will often be in the judges lounge or helping with the table operator. And if you're judging, this is the person to go to. They will help you with your tab room problems, with your ballots, any of that. That is the person to go to. So now, if you have any questions, these are the places to go. Since this is a recorded lecture and not a live lecture, there's not, a Q&A section. But if you have any questions, feel free to email me, reach out to your program officer. Again, thank you so much for joining on this journey. The next lecture will be covering policy debate and some of the crazy jargon we use and some of the tools we use and what a debate round looks like the back and forth and the different speeches and evidence and all these things that I said we'll get to later. Those will exist in the next lecture. So thank you so much for watching this video. And again, thank you for really joining the journey that is debate. That is policy debate with our league. Your students will really appreciate it, as do we as former debaters who are just so excited that we get to really expand the vision of debate to more and more students. Thank you.